All right. So let's talk about gravity for a second. And I don't mean the physics kind that keeps us all from floating off into space. I'm talking about social gravity.
Social gravity, yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. You know that specific, almost magnetic thing that happens when someone walks into a room?
Hmm.
Or maybe you just see them speaking on a screen or even just sitting quietly at a dinner table and everything just sort of tilts toward them?
Ah, yes. I know exactly what you mean. The pull.
The pull. Exactly. And the thing that's always, kind of frustrated me is that it's rarely the loudest person in the room.
Right. It's not the most aggressive one.
No, it's not the guy, jumping on the table or the person who is just dominating the conversation. It's it's often someone quite still, but they have this frequency of, I don't know, absolute certainty.
Mm-hmm. Groundedness.
Yes, that's the word.
Yeah.
And so today, what we're trying to figure out is that a genetic lottery win? Is that something you're just born with? Or is it a piece of engineering that we can actually, replicate for ourselves?
Okay.
Well, the good news is it is definitely engineering.
Oh, thank goodness.
It is. And that is what makes today's deep dive so, so interesting. We aren't just sort of speculating on charisma from a distance. We are looking at a very specific, almost architectural blueprint for confidence.
And we're basing this on a really fascinating conversation with Nimi Mehta.
We are. And for anyone who doesn't know her work, she is a serious heavyweight in the world of communication.
Yeah, she really is.
She's the CEO of a company called Speaker. She's a TV and radio presenter, an MC, a podcast host, a public speaking mentor. I mean, she has basically made an entire career out of holding people's attention.
Right. But what I love about the source material we have today is that it isn't just a victory lap. We aren't just analyzing her success or looking at her highlight reel.
Exactly. Highlight reels are, well, they're not what we do in these deep dives. We want the grit. We want the process.
You want the messy middle.
Exactly. We are analyzing her specific methodology for, and this is key, rebuilding herself after a complete identity collapse.
A collapse, not just a setback.
A total collapse. Her whole mission in the material we're looking at is to deconstruct her journey from hitting absolute rock bottom, or we're talking real rock bottom, like unemployment after landing her dream job, to building a career entirely on her own terms.
And that's the hook for me, because usually when we talk about finding your voice, it sounds so esoteric. A bit eat, pray, love.
Mm-hmm. Something you do on a mountaintop somewhere.
Exactly. It feels like this big, abstract spiritual journey. But Meta approaches it almost like a mechanic. She has frameworks, real, tangible frameworks. We're going to talk about the voice layer theory, the 50 No's, the Wins album.
These are actual tools, things you can use on a Tuesday afternoon when you're feeling completely lost. It's highly tactical.
Yes.
And I want to flag right at the start. The mission for this deep dive is to hand those tactics over to you, the listener. Because this isn't just for aspiring public speakers.
Not at all.
Whether you identify as a people pleaser who's trying to finally set some boundaries, or you're someone facing a really scary career pivot, or just anyone who feels like their internal monologue sounds suspiciously like their parents.
Yeah.
This is the toolkit we're unpacking.
All right, let's get into it. Let's unpack this. And I think we have to start with this concept of the end game, or really the illusion of it. Because Nimi's story, it starts where most stories end. It starts with what looks like the ultimate success.
Right. Picture the scene. She's 21 years old. She has just finished university. And she lands the job as an MTV presenter.
Which, let's just be honest, for a 21-year-old media student in that era, that is the absolute holy grail.
It's the summit. There is no higher peak to climb.
You cannot get cooler or more successful than that. You've made it.
It's the definitive I made it moment.
No.
But the way she got the job is so important because it really sets up the psychology of what happens next. She didn't just, send in a resume and cross her fingers like everyone else.
Well, this story is wild. She booked a local church hall. Is that right?
She booked a church hall. She dragged her family and friends in to be unpaid extras. She essentially directed and produced a full Fashion Week simulation.
What?
Oh, yeah. She had her sister in a corner getting her hair done, people throwing clothes around in the background. She created this entire high-energy, chaotic production reel from absolute scratch.
Just to prove to MTV that she could handle the chaos of their world.
Exactly. She engineered her own reality to show them she was ready for theirs.
That's incredibly bold. Just the sheer audacity of it.
It's incredibly bold, and it worked. They saw the tape and they hired her.
Of course they did. How could you not?
Right. It showed this incredible amount of drive and creativity. But, and here's the twist, the trap, It also set her up for a huge fall. Nimi admits in the material that when she signed that MTV contract, her internal narrative was, life is done, signed, sealed, delivered.
Ah, the classic endgame trap.
She saw the goal as a finish line, a permanent state of success. She thought because she'd achieved the dream goal at 21, the rest of her life would just be a smooth, upward trajectory.
The credits would roll and she'd live happily ever after.
Exactly.
I think we were all so guilty of that. There's a term for it, isn't there? The arrival fallacy.
That's it. The arrival fallacy.
We think once I get the degree or once I get the promotion or once I get married, then everything just settles. Everything will be okay forever. We treat life like a movie with a clear, happy ending.
Precisely. We see our goals as these final destinations. We think we cross the stage and the race is over. We can just relax.
But the race is never over.
Never. And here's a cold, hard reality check Nimi faced. The contract. It was for 1 year.
Ah.
The show she was on was called District MTV. It was basically an experiment. It didn't get the ratings they'd hoped for.
Yeah.
And so 12 months later,
Yeah.
the show was canceled. Her contract was not renewed.
Ouch. So she goes from the absolute peak of her industry MTV presenter, the dream to nothing.
To the unemployment line.
Mm-hmm.
And she stayed there for several years.
Years.
This wasn't a 3-week hiatus where she, went backpacking to find herself.
Yeah.
This was a deep, prolonged professional void.
And this brings us to such a crucial insight about identity that I think everyone, literally everyone, needs to hear.
Yes. When you attach your entire sense of self to a role, to a title on a business card, I am an MTV presenter, what happens when that role is deleted?
You're deleted. Your identity just evaporates.
Exactly. Your whole sense of who you are is gone. Nimi describes it as a massive ego hit, which of course it was, but it was also a full-blown existential crisis. She didn't know who she was without the microphone and the camera.
She had to learn the really hard way that dreams can't be static things.
They have to be, as she says, ever-evolving.
She uses a marathon analogy here that I found so helpful. I think it's perfect for anyone going through a big transition or a big failure.
It's the best way to visualize it. If you're running a marathon and you hit the 10-mile sign, what is that sign?
It's a mile marker, a checkpoint.
Right. It's a checkpoint. You grab some water, maybe you high-five a spectator, and you keep running. You know there are 16.2 more miles to go.
But Nimi had treated mile 10 like it was the finish line.
Exactly. She stopped running. She celebrated like the race was over. So when the race actually continued, and in fact got harder, she wasn't mentally prepared at all. She just completely collapsed because she thought the work was done.
So the big reframe here, the takeaway, is goals are just mile markers. They are not the destination.
Correct. And internalizing that shift is the only thing that gets you through what we often call the messy middle.
The messy middle. Oh, man, I feel like I've lived there for most of my 30s.
I think we all have. It's that period where you're unemployed or the business is failing or you're just confused about what's next. It's that time when you're working really, really hard with no visible results.
Yeah, the grind.
And if you think the goal is the only point of value, then that middle period is just torture. It feels like you're failing every single day.
It feels like a mistake, like you took a wrong turn.
Yes. But if you view the goal as just a blip on a much longer timeline, a marker on a marathon course, then the middle becomes the process. It becomes the work. It becomes the actual life part.
The part that matters. So let's look at how she navigated that messy middle, because this is where the tactics really start to come in. She didn't just sit around manifesting her next big break.
No, she was incredibly proactive. She used a strategy that she calls the power of proximity. And I love this because it's so practical and so unglamorous.
It's a masterclass, really, for anyone trying to break into a gated industry or any field where relationships and just being in the room matters.
Completely. So Nimi knew she wanted to stay in media. She'd lost her spot at MTV. So what does she do? She applies for a job scheduling adverts at Nickelodeon.
Scheduling adverts, that sounds thrilling.
It was pure data entry. She said it was monotonous, sitting in a cubicle, typing codes into a spreadsheet all day long. But think about the geography of it.
Okay.
Nickelodeon is owned by Viacom. Viacom also owned MTV. They were in the same building.
Ah, I see. Okay, so she took a bad job to get a good security badge.
She took the job to get in the elevator. That's it. She literally just wanted to be within earshot of opportunity.
Just to be physically in the ecosystem.
Right. She hoped that she would hear whispers of openings in the cafeteria or bump into a producer she knew at the coffee machine or just soak up the language and the energy of the building.
So did it work? Was there a big movie moment where she spills coffee on a director in the lobby and gets offered a primetime show?
No. And she is very, very honest about that in the source material, which I appreciate. There was no cinematic moment where she was discovered in the mailroom.
Okay.
But, and this is the key, it kept her momentum alive. It kept her in the mindset of a media professional rather than an unemployed person sitting on the sofa watching daytime TV.
It prevented the rust from setting in.
Precisely. It's about learning through osmosis. And while she was in that building, she went into this really aggressive process of elimination mode. She decided, okay, I have access. I'm going to use it.
She realized she had to actually reality test her dream.
She did. She started interning everywhere she could. Local newspapers, Hello Magazine, ITV. She hustled.
She was checking if the dream was actually real, right?
Exactly. She needed to know, do I actually want to be a presenter? Or was that just a 21-year-old fantasy? Do I like producing more? Do I like writing? Do I like editing?
That's a step that so many people skip. We fall in love with the idea of a job, the title, the salary, the image it protects, but we've never actually tested the day-to-day reality of it.
She was gathering data on herself, and she was doing it with pure old-school hustle. We're not talking about sending LinkedIn messages. We're talking about printing out stacks of paper CVs and physically showing up at reception desks because her emails were just getting deleted.
That is a lost art, the physical show up. I feel like if someone did that today, security might get called on them.
Maybe, but it shows a level of hunger that you just can't ignore. And speaking of being ignored and deleted emails, there's one specific story from this period that provides a brilliant framework for handling rejection.
The 50 no's concept.
The 50 no's.
I highlighted this one. I think this is necessary listening for anyone in sales or dating or job hunting. Honestly, anyone who has to put themselves out there. This completely changed how I look at my inbox.
It's a complete psychological game changer. So the story is, Nimi was trying to get an internship with a specific producer, a guy she really wanted to work for. She emailed him once a month for 6, maybe 8 months straight.
And he just ignored her.
Total silence, no reply, just ghosted month after month.
Most people would stop at 2. You send the first email, you send the follow-up, and if they don't reply to that, you feel annoying. You feel like a stalker. You tell yourself, okay, they hate me.
Right, you feel that sting of social rejection. But she just ignored that feeling. She just kept this clockwork rhythm. Once a month, hey, I'm still here, still interested, just checking in.
And it worked.
Eventually, he hired her, and he told her explicitly, I hired you purely because of your persistence. You just didn't go away.
So persistence itself became her main qualification.
It did. But here is the framework she developed from that experience, which is the brilliant part. She suggests you reframe rejection by imagining that you must receive 50 no's before you are statistically allowed to get one yes.
So you're not looking for a yes anymore. You're actively hunting for no's.
You are gamifying failure. So when you get a rejection letter or someone ignores your email or you bomb an interview, instead of spiraling into, I'm not good enough, what's wrong with me, you check a box.
Right. You say, great, that's null 14. I only need 36 more to get to my result.
It completely flips the emotional script. It turns rejection from a personal attack into just a necessary step in a sequence.
It takes the personal sting right out of it. The no isn't a judgment on your soul. It's just a data point you have to collect to get to the yes.
It makes you want to rush through the failures. You start thinking, hurry up and tell me no so I can get to the person who's going to say yes.
I love that. It makes you fearless.
And eventually, all that persistence paid off. She moved from that hustle into radio, and not just, small-time local radio. She ended up moving to Dubai and hosting the #1 breakfast show in the city for 5 straight years.
Which sounds like another endgame moment, right? She's finally made it again. Stable salary, high profile, #1 show, living in the sunshine.
It looks like the perfect setup. But then the itch comes back.
Ah, the bones feeling.
The bones feeling.
Yeah.
She starts getting that same sense that she's stagnating, that she's not growing. But leaving a stable, high-paying #1 job in a cool city like Dubai to launch your own business from scratch, that is terrifying.
That's the kind of decision that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.
It's the definition of the golden handcuffs. They're comfortable, but they're still handcuffs.
So how does she break them?
She used a decision-making framework she calls Pick Your Fear. And this is profound for anyone who feels stuck at a crossroads in their life.
Walk us through this, because usually when we're scared, we just feel fear as one big, overwhelming blob of anxiety.
Well, her point is that when we face a big pivot, we almost always only look at one side of the equation. We focus entirely on what we can call fear A.
Okay. Fear A.
Fear A is the fear of the action, the fear
Right.
of leaving. It's loud, it screams at you. What if I quit my job and go broke? What if my business fails? What if I lose my status? What if I regret it?
That in the monster in the doorway blocking your exit.
Exactly. It's the immediate, obvious danger.
Hmm.
But in focusing on fear A, we completely ignore fear B.
Which is?
Fear B is the fear of staying. It's the quiet, creeping fear of inaction. It's the fear of sitting in that exact same ergonomic chair, looking at that exact same gray wall 5 years from now, feeling the exact same way.
Wow.
It's the fear of feeling undervalued forever. The fear of getting to the end of your life and looking back with the regret of knowing you never even tried.
Okay, that's actually chilling. When you put it that way, fear B sounds way, way worse.
And that's the exercise. You have to put them on a scale and weigh them against each other, which is scarier. Being broke for a little while you build something that's yours. Or being comfortable but feeling dead inside for the next 5, 10, 20 years.
For Nimi, the fear of stagnation was heavier.
It completely outweighed fear A. She decided she would rather be proud that she tried and maybe failed than proud that she stayed safely in what she calls a comfort box.
I like that framing. We usually say comfort zone, which sounds nice and cozy. A box sounds like a cage.
And a cage is exactly what it is if it doesn't fit you anymore. But it wasn't just a logical decision for her. Nimi also talks about how she physically felt this decision. It wasn't a spreadsheet with a pro-con list. It was somatic.
Somatic decision-making. This is where we get into that trust your vet territory, but she makes it much more specific and tactical with the 5-second rule.
Yes. And just to clarify for everyone listening, this is not the rule about dropping food on the floor.
Important disclaimer, please do not eat off the floor.
This is about intuition. Nimi says when you get that gut instinct, that initial flash of, I should do this, or this situation feels wrong, you have about 5 seconds to grab onto it and acknowledge it.
Because after those 5 seconds...
The brain wakes up. The logical, analytical, survivalist part of your brain kicks in, and its primary job is to keep you safe, which usually means keeping you exactly the same.
It starts whispering all the reasons why it's a bad idea.
All of them. What about the mortgage? What about your reputation? What if it's too hard? What if you look stupid? The brain talks you out of the body's truth.
Almost every single time. The brain is excellent at creating very logical reasons to stay miserable.
It is. So Nimi's advice is to capture that initial feeling in the first 5 seconds. Name it. Acknowledge it as your truth before the logic has a chance to override it and dismiss it.
It reminds me of the anecdote shared in the source material. The host mentioned getting this really specific neck pain only when they were stressed or feeling out of alignment with their life.
That was such a striking example. She talked about being on holiday in Greece. I mean, absolute paradise, right?
Yeah.
But she still had the neck pain.
Because even if you're in paradise, if your life's direction is fundamentally wrong for you, the body knows. The body doesn't take a vacation from the truth.
Exactly. The body often speaks long before the mind is willing to acknowledge the problem. If you're getting migraines every Sunday night, or you have that heavy feeling in your gut every time you walk into your office, that is data.
It's not just random physical stuff.
No, that is your body screaming wrong direction, while your brain is calmly saying, but the benefits package is really good, and the commute isn't so bad.
Tuning into that is a superpower. Okay, so we've covered the career journey, the failures, the comeback, the decision to leap into the unknown. But now we get to the core of this whole thing, the voice.
The voice layer theory.
This concept, it blew my mind. I think most of us, we treat our voice, and not just the sound we make, but our opinions, our style, our entire personality as a default setting, you know? We think, this is just who I am.
And Nimi's argument is, no, that's probably not you at all.
It's such a bold claim. When you break down the theory, it makes a terrifying amount of sense. She visualizes the self as a nucleus. That's the authentic you, the core of who you are.
Right. The factory settings before any software was installed.
Exactly. But over that nucleus, all these layers get plastered on one by one throughout your life.
Let's peel them back. Layer 1.
Parents and guardians. Naturally, the earliest and most powerful influence, we mimic them to survive and to get love and to fit in. We adopt their fears, their cadence, their values, their beliefs about the world.
And then comes layer 2.
School, teachers and peers. This is where the pressure to conform really kicks in, the tall poppy syndrome. You learn very, very quickly at school that if you sound too different or you're too enthusiastic, you get hammered down. So you add a layer of sameness just to protect yourself.
Then layer 3. Media, TV, radio. And the biggest one of all. Layer 4, social media.
which is just millions of opinions, algorithms, and shoulds being force-fed to us every single second of the day.
So by the time you're an adult, you're not really speaking from your nucleus. You're speaking through 4 or 5 thick, hardened layers of other people's stuff.
Nimi gives this great, simple example of choosing dinner. You're with a friend, and you suggest sushi, but did you actually truly want sushi in that moment? Or did you just suggest it because you know they like sushi and you want to be accommodating and easygoing?
It's the dilution effect. We become a diluted version of ourselves. We think we're making a choice. We think we're speaking, but it's actually our mother or our third-grade teacher or some influencer we follow on Instagram speaking through us.
So how do we dig ourselves out? How do we find that nucleus again?
Nimi prescribes what she calls a voice audit. And a quick warning, it is not comfortable. Step 1 is isolation.
She went pretty extreme with this. A whole week of detox, no social media, and minimal talking to other people.
It sounds extreme, but think about it. When was the last time you went even 24 hours without external input? No podcasts, no scrolling, no TV, no news, just silence.
Probably never.
In that silence, you start to hear which thoughts are actually yours and which are just echoes of something you heard or read.
And then step 2 is question everything.
And she means everything. Why did I choose this career? Why do I like this shirt I'm wearing? Why did I vote for that person? Why do I eat this for breakfast? You have to keep asking why until you hit the bedrock of because I genuinely like it, or until you realize, oh, I only do this because my dad did it, or because it was cool in college.
That is deeply confronting. You might start to realize that your whole personality is just a collage of other people's opinions.
And that leads directly to step 3, the circle audit. We've all heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yes, the Jim Rohn classic.
Well, Nimi takes that and applies it directly to your voice. You have to critically analyze those 5 people. Do they enhance your voice? Do they listen to you? Do they encourage your nucleus to shine through? Or do they dim it? Do they impose their layers onto you?
She references Gary Vee here, who said something similar. That he found his voice by being in the trenches of all these other voices, but realizing they didn't matter as much as his mom's positive influence. He isolated the one good, empowering layer and consciously discarded the rest.
And then there's this fascinating point she makes about what she calls external disconnectors, specific things or environments that actively sever the connection to your nucleus.
Oh, right, like the hometown regression.
Exactly. You're a successful, confident adult in your own city. You go back to your parents' house for the holidays, you walk through that front door, and suddenly you're 14 years old again.
Oh, I feel so seen. That happens to me every single Thanksgiving. I sit differently on the sofa. I find myself waiting for permission to open the fridge. It's bizarre.
It happens to almost everyone. It's just environmental cues triggering these ancient neural pathways. You revert to the layer you formed when you lived in that house.
Another disconnector she mentions is alcohol.
Yeah, the host in the source material shared a great story about going to Greece, drinking spritzes every day, and realizing after a week that she had completely lost touch with her intuition. She couldn't feel her body's cues anymore.
It just numbs the channel.
It numbs the channel between the nucleus and the conscious mind. If you're constantly numbing yourself, whether it's with alcohol or endless scrolling or just being busy all the time, you cannot hear your own voice. It's that simple.
So, okay, we do the work, we strip back the layers, we start to hear the nucleus, but then we have to take that authentic voice out into the world. And the world isn't always a kind, supportive place. This brings us to the huge conflict between being nice and being assertive.
This is a struggle that Nimi faced very specifically as a woman in the cutthroat media industry, but I think it applies to anyone of any gender who was raised to be a good person, to not rock the boat.
She tells this incredible story about a hairdresser at the TV studio where she worked. It's his last day, and he pulls her aside to give her some parting advice. He says to her, "Nimi, you need to stop being so nice. In this industry, you need to be a bit of a bitch to be respected."
Terrible advice, but also sadly understandable advice in that kind of competitive context.
Totally. And for a second, she actually considered it. She looked around the studio and she saw people who were bitches getting what they wanted. They were getting the best stories, the promotions.
But, and this is the key insight, she took a moment to analyze why they were getting what they wanted. And she realized people were doing things for them out of fear.
They were walking on eggshells.
That isn't respect, that's just compliance. That's hostage negotiation, not leadership.
So she rejected the binary. The false choice. It's not a choice between being a doormat and being a monster. There is a powerful middle ground.
Assertive kindness.
Assertive kindness. I love that phrase. What does that actually look like in practice, though?
It looks like having clear boundaries. Nimi realized that what we call people-pleasing is actually just you saying yes to someone else, and, in the same breath, saying no to yourself, to your own needs, your own time, your own energy.
Assertiveness is simply valuing your own yes as much as you value theirs.
Exactly. And the tactical way she practices this is by focusing on responding versus reacting.
This is the absolute hallmark of high confidence, isn't it?
It really is. Low confidence or a threatened ego reacts immediately. You get a triggering email and you fire back a long defensive reply within minutes, or you apologize profusely when you haven't actually done anything wrong.
High confidence takes a beat.
High confidence pauses. It creates space. It treats words like gold, not like rocks to be thrown. It says, okay, I'm feeling emotional right now. I'm going to wait until that subsides, and then I will send a reply that is concise, clear, polite, and firm on my boundary.
It's the power of the pause. You don't have to fill every silence. You don't have to justify your existence in every email. You can just state the boundary and move on.
And that ties perfectly into the final piece of this puzzle, how to build sustainable confidence. Because even if you do all this work, you find your voice, you set your boundaries, your confidence is still going to dip. It's not a flat line, it's a wave.
Nimi has some great, really practical hacks for this. First, the visualization. I mean, this story is amazing. She stared at the Channel 4 presenter lineup on her laptop screen for an hour, literally just imagining her face in the grid with the other presenters.
And years later, she got that exact job.
It's incredible.
Visualization primes the brain. It makes the subconscious mind familiar with the goal, so it starts to recognize opportunities to get there.
Yeah.
But my favorite tool she offers is the WINS album.
I have actually started doing this since reading the source material. It's so simple, but so effective.
Tell us about it. What is it?
So it's just a photo album on your phone, or if you're more of a spreadsheet nerd, it can be an Excel doc, and it is dedicated solely, exclusively to your wins.
And what counts as a win? Does it have to be a huge achievement?
No, that's the beauty of it. Everything counts. I cooked a healthy dinner instead of ordering takeout. I hosted a massive event. I finally sent that scary email I'd been putting off. I got out of bed today even though I was feeling really sad. You document it all. You take a screenshot, a photo, whatever.
And the purpose of this is to counter the brain's natural negativity bias. Our brains are like Velcro for failure and Teflon for success. We obsess over the one thing that went wrong and instantly forget the 10 things that went right.
Totally. So when you hit a low moment and you open that album and you scroll through it, it provides objective, irrefutable proof of your own capability.
It's like a receipt for your competence.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a receipt that says, look, I did these things. I am capable. This current feeling of failure is just a feeling, not a fact.
It anchors you in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps you maintain what Nimi calls soft confidence.
Yes. I love this distinction she makes between loud and soft confidence.
It's so important. We live in a world that constantly rewards loud confidence. The extrovert, the life of the party, the person who interrupts everyone in a meeting. We mistake volume for competence.
But Nimi, who is a professional speaker for a living, says she feels most confident when she's in her introvert mode.
Which seems like a paradox, but it's not. Soft confidence is quiet assurance. It's knowing you can handle it without needing to broadcast it to the entire room. It's the difference between a small dog that barks at everything that moves and a lion that just sits there calmly watching.
The lion isn't loud, but you know it's powerful. There's no question.
And she mentions, or rather, the host of the material mentions her Italian sisters as having fire. And that's relative. The point isn't that one is better than the other. The point is you don't need fire to be confident. You can have calm. You don't need to change your fundamental nature to be powerful.
That is such a liberating message. Whether you are fiery or calm, the goal isn't to change your volume control. It's to make sure the signal is coming from your nucleus, not from all those other layers.
Beautifully put.
So what does this all mean for us? Let's just quickly recap the toolkit that Nimi has given us here.
Okay. First, reframe your goals. They are checkpoints on a marathon, not finish lines. Don't let your identity die when a job title or contract ends.
Second, trust your body. You have a 5-second window to listen to your gut before your logical brain talks you out of your own truth. If you feel it in your bones, it's data. Treat it as data.
Third, excavate your voice. Start the audit. Peel back the layers of your parents, your schooling, social media. Ask why. over and over again until you find what's authentically you.
And fourth, replace nice with assertive. Kindness doesn't mean having no boundaries. Take a beat, respond, don't react, and learn to say yes to yourself.
And finally, build your wins album. Starting today, give yourself the objective proof you're going to need when the doubts inevitably creep in.
Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to chew on. We talked a lot today about the voice layer theory, about how other people have layered their voices, their opinions, their fears onto us.
But here is the provocative question to take with you for the rest of your day. If voice layering is real, whose voice are you a layer on?
Ooh, that's good. That's really good.
Are you the layer that is dimming your children's nucleus? Are you the friend that makes someone else order sushi when they really wanted pasta? Are you enhancing the authentic voices of the people around you? Or are you, even with the best intentions, burying them under your own layer?
That is a heavy one. Finding your own voice is a lifetime of work, but helping others keep theirs, that's a real responsibility.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note, start your